Our This Week in XR podcast is sponsored by our friends at Zapper, the world's leading augmented reality platform and creative studio, with over 11 years of experience working with the world's biggest brands through Zapper Creative Studio. Zapper also has an award-winning web AR platform, ZapWorks, that lets you create your own mobile AR magic. Finally, check out their Zap Box, the most affordable mixed reality headset on the planet. Start creating AR over at zap.works or talk to them about your next AR project at zapper.com. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, October 7th. I'm Charlie Fink with Ted Schilwitz. It's This Week in XR. Our guest today, Drew Perkins, the CEO and one of the co-founders of Mojo Vision, the augmented reality contact lenses, and apparently he himself has been wearing them. Yeah. So it'll be great to hear about his experience. Unfortunately, we can't get the visual, but we've talked about them before. So Drew's a great guy. I look forward to the conversation.
And Charlie, I've heard that we've been doing this for a while now.
Jesus, man, it's the show 125.
125. That's impressive for a couple of old guys like us. And to stick with it that long.
I'll be remiss if I don't mention the sponsors who make it all possible. Right now, our title sponsor is Zapper. And last year we had Verbella, and both were really just doing it not because we have a huge audience, although it's growing. They did it to support our work, the best reason possible. And, you know, Ted and I are not in this for the money.
Yeah.
So, thank you, listener.
I do, by the way, run into people more and more, you know, in our various travels now that we're kind of emerging from the pandemic cocoon and going back to shows and doing events and stuff. And people are like, hey, I'm listening to your podcast. I really enjoy it. It's a great way for me to pick up on, like, you know, the weekly events going on in our sector. And I'm like, wow.
It's so funny. I'm so busy.
It's always a surprise to me, but I think it's great.
I'm so busy reading the news every day, and people say to me, oh, what a great digest. Such a good idea.
Right.
Like, well, first of all, I've been writing a digest like this in Forbes for 6 years.
Yes.
But listen, we're happy to have everybody, and it's great to know that they're out there.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, because we're like radio without ratings.
Mm-hmm.
We see the number of downloads though, so it's nice. We're headed toward about 1,000. So
yeah,
cool. I mean, for a niche tech podcast, it ain't bad.
Okay.
It ain't bad.
Absolutely.
So let's get to the news this week, so we can have our conversation with.
We make good on what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, the headlining news this week, before we get to the usual roll call of Meta announcements, of course, was $12 million coming largely from Google Ventures to SideQuest, the other app store.
Right. At the same time that Google Ventures is shuttering Stadia, right? So that's kind of an
interesting. I don't think that Google Ventures, honestly, has that much to do with Google strategy. It sort of, you know, operates like a venture capital company that has a first look deal with Google or something that is the equivalent therefore. So I don't know, closing Stadia was their cloud gaming play. And I still think cloud gaming is the future. I think they probably assessed that it was going to be really expensive to get to that future, and they would be better off following rather than leading. Microsoft has a huge cloud business, although so does Google, but it was going to be expensive either way.
Well, and it's a pretty telling sign of the times right now that many tech companies, including, you know, our friends at Meta, are doing a pullback, and they're, you know,
they were many of them doing too much, and they were spending a lot of the advertising dollars that you know were filling up their pockets. But once the advertising dollars stop, it's not sustainable. And while they haven't completely stopped, I think most brands and most agencies have signaled that the coming year will not be like the last. So, but SideQuest, getting back to SideQuest, it was founded by a couple in 2019, sort of out of love.
Yeah,
they found another person who did things because they were passionate. Palmer,
somewhere in Europe, right?
They're in Belfast.
Belfast, right?
And they found Palmer Luckey, who gave them an initial boost. Good on Palmer. He's a generous guy from time to time, and I believe I could be wrong that Meta put a little money in too. I
Yeah,
think it's
or certainly at
good for
least,
Meta to encourage competition, just like it was good for Microsoft in the 90s to make sure that Apple didn't go out of business.
correct. Certainly at least provided a support layer and said, yes, we believe this is a good idea, and people should be able to sideload things and do
Yeah,
devices.
I mean, I think that
Devices.
as we talk about an open metaverse, and again, the metaverse being stipulated that it is browser-based and device agnostic,
Mm-hmm.
but some of those spaces obviously will be best experienced using a VR headset.
Correct.
And so until that time, headsets need to hopefully be agnostic and can download software provided it's compatible from anywhere,
Right.
not just the Oculus store. So when you think about the Pico headset coming, Sony, also in the news this week, Sony is predicting 3 million headset sales
Mm-hmm.
in Q1 after they release the VR2.
Yeah.
Which is compatible with PlayStation 5, which would mean the VR2 has much faster adoption and is much more popular than
and
VR.
my continued belief, which I've talked about many times on this show, is they will have to have some sort of wireless option, whether it's third party or not, to allow the PS to sort of stand at the current state of technology of what people want.
But it still acts like a PC.
Yes.
Right. And you have to take it with you if you're going to play.
And you're going to need your PS5 near the device, but tethered to it, I
agree with that. But they have that for HTC and other wired devices today. So it's just expensive.
Right.
And it's a little, at least the few times I've used it, cranky. So not quite ready for prime time. It is, Sony is pretty good at this. So you would think if they made it, it would work really well.
Yeah, look, maybe they know more than me. Maybe they know that there is a fine and robust market for someone that will plug in with a wire to their device sitting next to their television, and that's completely fine.
My point being, though, there's a market there for SideQuest as well. SideQuest could very well be the Steam of
the whole VR industry. Yeah,
and that's a big opportunity. I think the investors have seen something here that the rest of us have not really been considering yet.
Absolutely.
Moving on, Meta Connect.
Yeah, coming soon to a VR headset near you.
You can watch it on Horizon Worlds with other people present, or you can do what I did last year and just get it on Facebook Live. Right. Obviously last year was a very, very dramatic keynote in which Mark Zuckerberg starred in this Hollywood movie about the metaverse, and at the conclusion changed the name of the company.
Became the fodder of many people's jokes about this.
Yes, but it also, let me just say, it was the name that launched 1,000 ships.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I mean, although the metaverse has a consensus definition, sort of 3D virtual worlds, connected virtual worlds that are browser based, and sort of it's really just the internet becoming more like a video game. And and for the generation that's spent a lot of time in front of screens navigating them as a video game. So I don't know it's necessarily for us, and we don't know, as we say in venture capital, whether the dogs will eat the dog food. But it set the world on fire.
Right. Well, and this year we'll see, certainly they're going to launch a new headset, but more importantly, probably even than that, we'll see, is their commitment wavering at all, or are they still all in on this?
Right. They promised to spend so much money, but that was when they were making $50 billion a year in profit.
Right. So now we've got to see what happens, right? And how they navigate these waters.
But it's, in the case of this company, it's not a they, it's one person.
It is more of an I than a they. That is true.
Which is, kind of super interesting. I don't think anybody has written that book, but I don't know if I have the nerve to do it.
You'd be good to do it.
But who he is and the billionaire cocoon he lives in informs a lot of what's happening both inside of that company, and obviously that includes Meta. As you said, I think the big news in the conference or in the Meta Connect is going to be the introduction of what has been called the Cambria and will probably be called the Quest Pro.
Quest Pro or Quest 2, because there's also now rumors of a even lower cost, let's say
Yep.
regular Quests that will be coming to even bring that threshold of adoption even greater. So we'll see.
Well, I think there'll be, high demand among enterprise and prosumer users. It's probably going to be more than $1,000. It's aimed at a less price sensitive crowd where they have an opportunity to actually make money. Launching the cheaper device is interesting because, again, you and I have had this discussion about how price sensitive people are about VR headsets. And if you want a VR headset, how is $400 a price point you can't reach, but $200 a price you can reach? So right. I'm not that convinced that dropping the price $2,000 or raising it $100, as they recently did, is going to make that big of a difference right now.
Yeah,
it's like Android phones. Once you get to that scale, then of course, there should be a less expensive alternative.
Right. I tend to agree with that. And I actually think that there is a very robust market for a much more feature robust device with better resolution, better sensors.
Right.
Better
well, once you're going to like $1,200 or $1,400, now you can go to $2,300.
Doesn't really matter. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. If somebody wants something that expensive, they have a very specific idea why. I don't think they're doing this to siphon off sales from the Quest 2. I think they're doing it to reach that audience that's using HTC and other, the Vive Focus. I mean, these are successful devices in enterprises, provided you can get $3,000 or $4,000 per device.
And do you think a company like Meta actually does research on this and does market analysis? Or do you think they just gut check it and kind of like, what Mark says goes and they want to build it and they go build it? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, they're flooded with consultants and McKinsey people.
So maybe they do some research.
So I mean, isn't that what those people do?
Yeah.
So I would think they have some good sense of the audience that they're trying to reach.
Right.
But I do see these ads on television and kind of shake my head. And that some of them are, they must have spent $2, $3, $4 million on their serious filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wonder, first of all, hey, thanks. I'm sure, Pico is thanking you every time they see one of those commercials for informing the world about VR. And I don't know, typically, right, you launch a package of ads like that, and you blanket the world. I mean, we're going to see them on the World Series. We're going to see them on football every weekend. So, they've decided that those people, there are enough likely Quest buyers among those people that it's worth it. But I go, wow, what is their cost of acquisition?
Yeah.
Everybody talks about subsidizing the headset, but we're talking about a cost per acquisition of probably another $100.
Right.
So, I think it'll be interesting to see if they pull back on that as they start counting pennies.
Go back to the bus ads, right? Now that people are back on buses and subways.
Yeah, I just think that this is a very, very expensive approach to something that probably will take longer than anyone thinks. That said, I think we're getting to the crook of the hockey stick where it's going to start to, double.
Yeah.
Instead of adding, 4, 6, 7 million people.
Right. At some point it does really become more about the content than the device, right? It's who has the most compelling content. And I think that is the bet that Sony is making, is that they will put their money into, like they did with PS Games to be the leader in that sector, into the real dollars and cents of making the best possible content to lock those customers in.
I think it'll be really interesting to see MetaQuest has scale and portability. And Sony is going to have photoreal gaming.
Right.
And I don't know what to say about photoreal, right? What's going to happen when we don't know what's real?
Yeah. Plus,
that could be the gates of hell. We have no idea.
Very possible, right? And you and I have gone over and over this, that the physics and the gameplay matters way, way more than photoreal.
Well, and again, let's remember, these first adopters are largely gamers. Right. There aren't a lot of casual, the 50 billion people who got added to the smartphone gaming are not interested right now.
VR, exactly.
So, We'll see, but lots of, I mean, MetaConnect, if you're listening to this podcast, probably you can't miss it. The good news is it's going to be recorded and instantly available. So if 10 doesn't work for you, 11 will.
Yeah, you'll watch it whatever that day. Yeah.
So, but always, it'd be great to have another headset on the market.
Yeah. It's also interesting, by the way, that they've fully committed to keeping it meta, right? That now that people can go back to conferences, because this used to be an in-person thing for us. Every year we'd go, we'd see all our friends, we'd talk about the industry at large, and they're not doing it in real life. They're sticking with their guns on real life. For them is you'll watch it in a VR headset. By the way, I do hope that they figure out what they did wrong when they did the Super Bowl Foo Fighters concert and no one could get into the headset, that they've actually put some cycles into engineering and making sure that however many people sign up for it in their quests, they'll actually be able to get in, in one shot and not have to wait for hours to see it. So we'll see.
Speaking of friction, our friend Alex Heath just dropped a really interesting story in The Verge, a leaked memo from Vishal Shah to the people working on Meta Horizon. And supposedly they're going to spend the next few months before Christmas trying to fix all the bugs in it, particularly the bugs on the builder side. The other weird thing that's happening is, well, not weird, I predicted it. Horizon Workrooms is amazing, but it's still in beta, and it's still really hard to use.
Really hard to get into, and very few people are using it because that threshold is so hard.
Too much friction. The benefits are amazing, but it's too much friction, and they're just so, they're great at putting out news about how popular it is, but I think a memo from the general manager saying, can we please stop introducing new features and start fixing the bugs? Because the more they make it like a real game engine and try and raise the graphics and get better creators, the more important it's going to be to have something that really works. Absolutely. And that's you have hundreds of people working on a level of a AAA game using a game engine. This is a tremendous investment every single day, so it can't not work. And that's why everybody, there are other game engines, but it is so hard to break in because of that. So we've got Drew. Let's bring him in.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Drew, welcome. It's great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
In my introduction of you, I said you were actually wearing the contact lenses that you made.
Not at the moment, but I have been wearing them.
Yeah. So first, tell us a little bit about what Mojo Vision does for those who aren't familiar with your very famous company, and then let's talk about your product and what it's been like to actually start testing it on humans.
All right. Well, Mojo is all about letting us see better in the real world and see into the augmented world as well, see into the metaverse as well as to the universe.
And so it's a AR contact lens that, much like a regular contact lens you put in a cleaning case, it just happens to be also a charger.
That's right. Kind of like an AirPods.
Isn't putting a battery on your eye kind of scary?
No, I don't think so. They're very safe batteries. They're medical grade batteries that are put in pacemakers and things like that. People implant them, and this thing, it's on the surface, so it's easily.
So, is it like a regular contact lens putting it in, or does it feel a little thicker?
It is like a regular scleral lens put it in, which is not exactly a contact lens. They're a little bit. Most people think of them as a form of contact lens. They're not, but it's a technical differentiation. And it is a bit thicker right now, but that's not really the important thing when it comes to comfort. The important thing for comfort is how it fits. And these things are fit precisely to match your eye and only your eye, because every eye is different.
Well, we've seen it a couple of times, Ted and I. I think both of us got a look at it when you were visiting Los Angeles last year, and then again at AWE in Santa Clara. So they do look like regular contacts. They're the miniaturization, I guess, which was one of the big challenges, has resulted in a very small form factor.
Yes, and you can see very well through them. Scleral lenses give you the best vision, much better than normal contact lenses.
Okay, so what are the applications? What are you actually seeing, and what are the benefits?
Our goal is to let you see information anywhere, notifications, messages, what's going on in your own human body, like your heart rate, your speed, turn-by-turn navigation, these sorts of things. Simple bits of information that you need all day long.
Actually, as I recall, you have a pilot deal with Nike, right?
We have a deal with a running app company. And it's Adidas, actually. It's not Nike.
Oh, sorry, Adidas. And you've been testing them on athletes?
We have not tested on anyone but me and some of my colleagues so far.
And so are you waiting for approval to try them on other subjects, or are you going to do more development?
We're doing more development. We have all the approvals necessary to test them on people, and we are doing that in limited clinical trials. But we're not yet ready to start doing it broadly. And so far, we've been doing it primarily with people in the company.
So what's your timeline for getting it out there? When do you think regular consumers, will be wearing AR contact lenses?
It'll be a few years. We're not saying the exact timeline because, frankly, we're not the only people that have a say in that. The FDA is going to have some say in that.
But you've been at it for more than 5 years at this point.
I actually started the company over 7 years ago now.
That's amazing. So it'll be at least a 10-year journey from concept to product.
It will be, yes. So it's a life mission.
Great. You guys have raised an incredible amount of money, which is a testament to how potentially powerful this invention is, and also how much new science went into it.
Absolutely. It's an invention that will impact and change the world. It'll improve mankind and society, and we think its impact is going to be as big as just about any other invention you can name ever in history.
So it's possible, right, that we'll be able to actually leapfrog regular AR glasses in favor of something that is, I guess, wetware.
I'm not sure if leapfrog is entirely the right word because many people are never going to wear a contact lens, a Mojo lens, no matter how powerful it is. We think maybe a third of people will choose contact lenses versus glasses.
I mean, a third of the people is like it's like 2 billion people.
It is a lot of people. We think the opportunity is absolutely massive. So it really will change the planet.
So what are the other applications? Just anything that's on your smartphone, basically?
At the end of the day, it's anything that's on any computer anywhere, whether it's your watch, your smartphone.
So people can look at spreadsheets, they can do teleprompter, they can dictate messages, basically most of the stuff you do on your smartphone.
Absolutely. Now it's going to take, a number of generations for it to become, to get to a point where it can
replace. But we're not talking about forever at this point. It might be 3 years or it might be 5 years, but at least I think we're a couple of gray hairs. That isn't that long.
Yes, exactly.
So in the context of its development, well, what I love about this is that it is such a potential curveball, right? Everybody could be working on glasses that nobody necessarily wants, or that you only wear for a very specific purpose, like welding.
Yeah.
or maybe a concert is augmented and it's a location-based thing. So
yes,
they know to put their glasses on or to bring their glasses.
Yes.
But of course, they might just already be wearing their Mojo glasses or their Mojo lenses.
Mm-hmm.
How many scientists are working on this? Are you still growing?
Yeah, we've got probably about 100 people that are scientists and engineers. Got over 120 people, but some of those are in finance and right. HR and whatever else. So IT, etc.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any other companies doing this, or are you guys sort of out there on the cutting edge by yourselves?
We believe we are the only ones. It's possible that there's some skunk works somewhere in some big company that we're not aware of, but we think we're pretty much on top of it.
So do you think you would be the actual manufacturer or at that point you would look to big company that's already doing something like this?
We have a number of manufacturing partnerships under development. Mojo Lens has a number of components within it, just like your phone or your computer. There's lots of technology that goes into it. And we've got manufacturing partners for all of those. And then the lens itself, we've got a partnership that's been under development, and others are possible.
It's so tiny. Do you have to invent the machine that makes it?
Absolutely. The entire manufacturing line, every step, it needs to be done by robots, basically. And we've had to invent all those robots that can build it.
Of course, there's been lens technology like LASIK and special lenses where they insert them. But of course, nothing like this that has to be charged and connected to or paired with a smartphone. It is kind of science fiction when you think about it.
It was science fiction until we turned it into science fact. But all other devices for your eye are stupid, dumb pieces of plastic. Basically, they may have very advanced optical properties, but they're purely passive optical devices, and there's nothing with intelligence in there. So whether it's intraocular lens from people that have had cataracts, whether it's contact lenses, whether it's glasses, nothing else has any kind of intelligence.
Do you think you'll have to overcome sort of a fear factor even among contact lens wearers, or do you think people are just ready to totally accept this idea?
I think any new technology, you've got pioneers and early adopters and late adopters, et cetera. And those late adopters are going to remain late adopters for this as well as any other technology. But I think once people start seeing the benefits and seeing how much other people, the pioneers and the early adopters, love it and what they're getting out of it, the benefits,
I think makes sense.
The market's going to continue to grow for.
Do you think it'll ever be combined with vision correction?
It already is from day one.
Oh my God, that is so awesome. There is, half the people in the world wear glasses. So
half the people in the world need vision correction, and more than that in Asia, closer to 90%. Myopia in particular is a epidemic across the planet. So we think the market is just about everybody.
Well, we're closing in on the hour. I know you have a limited amount of time. Ted already had a run off for a meeting, by the way. So any parting shots here about Mojo Vision that you'd like our listeners to know?
I guess the only thing is that this technology is coming. It's not science fiction. It's really possible to make a device that corrects your vision in a way that's even better than today's devices, and also let you see into the metaverse, into augmented reality, see information anywhere, and make the world truly dynamic. It's coming, and Mojo Vision's bringing it.
That is fantastic. I can't wait to see more of this and eventually be one of your guinea pigs. So Drew, thanks for your time this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right.